I'm busy living so bad. It is episode 492. How is everybody today? First time here, welcome. If you're back and you always come and see me, thank you. And if you are here for the first time or you haven't done it yet, subscribe, please, and leave your comments on how you like today's podcast. I'd really, really, really appreciate it. So we're at 492. Oh my gosh. My topic today has to be faith. It has to be faith. I just did a podcast with Father Dan Rahill that I've been wanting to do since have gotten back from Medjugorje, literally for the past 8 months. And finally he said yes. And we set up a time and we did it. And it was great. I was so scared. I had so little faith. I mean, I am just like you guys. Sometimes I'm so scared. And I had somebody write to me this week and said, I want to quit drinking, but I don't want to go to AA. And I was like, I totally get what you're saying. I get what you are putting down, baby. I know how hard it is to go and ask for help. I still can think back to that day that I went to my first AA meeting and I got to that door and I pulled it and it was like going to the gym for me. It's like, oh my gosh, do I need 20 guys to help me open this door because it's so scary? I didn't want to get help for myself. I didn't want anybody to know. I didn't want to be there with people that I might know in my community. I didn't want anybody to know my secret, even though everybody knew my secret, because let's face it, I drank out in public and people saw me drunk all the time. So when I reached out for help, as scared as I was, I didn't have any alternative. There was no other choice. So I feel like when we get to this place where we are so scared and we're so tired of doing something, and we finally fall to our knees and we say, can I have help? It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of faith that somebody's going to actually help you. I think that we are so busy staring at what we don't like that we forget that there's options, that we forget that there's a way of changing things, opening the window. You might close the door, but the window's going to open, or you might close the window and the door's going to open. Something will open if you have faith, if you walk through things. It's the whole thing with the 12 steps was really scary for me, I can tell you that. And sometimes I still don't really like to go. But I know that I have to go if I want to stay sober. And no one there bites, which is the craziest thing. And if you want to try it, because it's free, I mean, all you need to do is pay $1. And I'm going to tell you, it's been some of the best dollars I've ever spent. Not only have they helped me, and have I gotten to a place where I learn new tools in my toolbox. Instead of going and picking up a drink or a drug, you go and you get tools. Somebody teaches you these tools in these 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you get to have a better life. But the thought of it for so long was so fear. I was so scared. There was no faith. I don't think I had really any faith prior to quitting drinking. I think it's blind faith. I think it's blind faith that I had. I think it was faith that I didn't think about. It's like going and turning on your light. You think, well, I paid my electric bill. I'm going to turn on my light switch and my lights are going to come on. That's blind faith, right? It's like you don't even think about it. You take your car, you get your car keys, you go out, and if there's gas in your car and you've maintained your car properly, you have faith that you're going to walk out there. You don't even think about it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get my car. I'm going to turn my keys and the car's going to turn on. If it doesn't, you know that it's because there's something wrong with it. But we have so many blind faiths. It's like knowing your mail's going to show up at your house, or, those simple things that you hopefully will go to the grocery store and you can find milk and eggs. You have faith that that's going to happen. You don't think, oh, I'm not going to be able to get there and find what I need. I mean, obviously, if you shop at a small business or farm, there might not be eggs. It would have sold out. But, you have faith in things happening. And it's so hard when we live in fear. And as you guys know, I've been living in a ton of fear over this election, and I've changed it around totally. One of the biggest things I've done is I've stopped watching TV. I don't watch any TV whatsoever unless it's sports. And then if we watch anything else that's on TV, it's always through a streaming service where there are no commercials. If I choose to watch anything, it's normally somebody that I want to listen to and on YouTube. And that's how this whole thing with Dan Rahill happened. I mean, I finally reached out to him and he said yes. And it was because I saw he was on Sean Ryan's podcast, which was amazing. You guys, you've got to go listen to it. He talks a lot about his exorcism and what he does as an exorcist. I don't really touch upon that much in the podcast next week that you hopefully will tune into. That's not my focus. I'm more talking about God and faith and Catholic religion and that sort of thing. So tune into that on Monday. It's going to be dropping at 6 a.m. You can find it on YouTube at 6 a.m. It'll be on all streaming services at 6 a.m. on Monday. So go check that out. I think that this idea of faith is just when you're in the darkest of times, you don't think of it. You're so weighed down on the fear level, right? And the craziest thing is you can't have faith and fear in the same moment. You can only have one feeling. So what's going to outweigh it? It's if you're an attorney, they have those scales and you're like, which thing am I going to put my trust in? Am I going to put my trust in, okay, everything's going to work out? I'm going to have faith that everything's going to work out? Or am I going to put all my trust over here and fear? And I'm just going to sit in this place. And I think that worrying, which I've spent way too much of my life doing, does nothing. Worrying is like steals everything. Worrying is like it's not in the present moment. You have shame for yesterday and you have anxiety for the future because you don't know what's going to happen. And when you don't know what's going to happen, maybe sometimes that's God protecting us. We don't know what's going to happen. And if we've had something happen over and over again, that's insane if we don't change things. And that was like my drinking when I woke up one day and I said, I got to stop this. I can't keep going on like this. I feel terrible. I hate myself. I hate the way I feel. I hate the way I get myself into situations that wouldn't happen normally if I weren't drinking. And when I went and I was so scared, but the shame was so big. The shame for yesterday was so big that I felt like I had no other options but to be scared. And I didn't want to go to this place that everybody talked about, this 12-step program, because I thought my life's going to be over. What am I going to do? Am I going to be in a cult? Am I going to be bored? Is nothing going to be going on in my life? Am I going to be sitting here going, oh my gosh, now what? Which I have to be honest, I was in the very beginning. I think for me, when I put down the drink and, you have to change your friends. At least I did. Because I drank with people who drank like I did. I didn't drink with people that were like teetotalers and had one. I drank with people that went big because I didn't want to feel like the only person that was getting loaded. I wanted to be with people that got loaded too. So I did that. And it was so hard in the beginning to go, okay, now what am I going to do? And I had to admit to one of my people I work with, I said, but when I got sober, it was, I had kids. I had little kids at home. So I really didn't have a lot of options. And to do, like, my time was filled with like, okay, they've got a sporting event or they have after school, they have something at school that I have to do, or they have a project or something. So time was filled with worrying about my kids. So I didn't have to worry so much about the fact that I wasn't invited to this or I wasn't invited to that, or I didn't want to go to this and I didn't want to go to that. And there was no social media like it is today. And it was probably an easier time. I mean, so many people these days have been saying to me how lucky I am that that I have the life I have. And sometimes I think I take it for granted and I don't want to anymore. I really want to notice that I am so grateful for everything that I have in my life, but it hasn't always been like this. It was a lot of hard work. A lot of bad choices were made. A lot of bad decisions in my sobriety were made. Left me in really hard positions, especially financially. I didn't have much money, if any. And I got behind in payments And I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Don't answer the door, you guys. And I'd say that to my kids because I was scared my house was going to get taken away. Um, I had community though, you guys. I had community. I went and I got into those 12-step rooms, which were not only did, and I don't want to be like I take, but I was a taker for the first year at least of just going and getting what I needed and showing up. And yeah, I could, share, but I wanted to get better. I really wanted to get better. And when I got better, I got these healthy people in my life that were also, I mean, not everybody's healthy. Let's face it, not everybody anywhere is healthy. But, there's healthy people obviously sprinkled all over the place. But when you go into one place, there's going to be people that still need help and are different phases in their lives, whatever. But I found a crew and I found people where I went in outside of Philadelphia, and I had some really great people around me when I was going through these hard times after I had to deal with the bad, the choices I'd made. I had to pay for I had to pay for it with fear, constant fear of what was going to happen. Am I going to have a home? Am I going to have a place for my kids to be? And I prayed a lot. And I learned that in the rooms. I hadn't been a prayer before, but I realized that God, because I got on my knees, and I say this because, again, I was full of fear. I was full of remorse. I was full of sadness. Felt so bad, felt so bad. And I fell to my knees and I said, God, please help me. I don't want to do this anymore. And again, I think my guardian angels and God actually put people in my life that I was willing to walk towards. And I was willing to say yes. When I had Pete Sousa was on last week, and he was talking about how he said yes all the time. He'd get presented a question, will you do this? And he said yes. Like go and work at, 3 o'clock in the morning in Louisiana in some small teeny tiny town. But to get to where he wanted to go to, he said yes. He was willing. And I feel like that's faith. I'm willing. I'm going to walk. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to trust God. And that for me came from literally taking that first step, which I was and it was the ego. My ego was so big. Easing God out is the acronym for that. And my ego was so big that I didn't want to say, I need help. I didn't want to raise my hand with a group of strangers and say, hi, my name's Elizabeth. I'm an alcoholic. It was the last thing I wanted to do in my life at 37 years old. But I had no choices because I could define my problem upside and down. But what was my solution going to be? I didn't have all this money to go to rehab, but I could go to AA because it's $1. If you even have $1, if you don't have $1, it doesn't cost anything. But I was going to find people that at least wanted, I had the faith to know that I was going to find people that wanted to be sober too. I was going to find people that wanted the same. They wanted to get off this crazy merry-go-round of life that I had been on for so long. My faith was that they were going to be there and they were going to help me. And other people that were around me, my ex-brother-in-law who just celebrated 35 years of recovery. It's kind of crazy. Congratulations. If by chance you're listening to my podcast, I don't know if you ever do, but if you do, congratulations. But I went to him and I told him, and he said, call this person. And I took direction. And I really listened because it didn't matter, because my thinking got me in the biggest trouble. So if I'm going to trust people that are living a sober life and are presumably very happy and living life on life's terms, I was taken down this path. Like I said, yes, I'm willing to walk this path. I'm willing to listen to what you have to say. I'm willing to take your direction. And instead of saying, I don't want your unsolicited help, I was like, please give me help. Please give me help. And I was even willing, if my sponsor had said to me, jump, I would have been like, how high? How high do you want me to go? What do you want me to do to get to a better place? And as fearful as I was, it was like, that was the only answer, because what other solution did I have? I knew that if I went and drank again, I was going to feel the exact way I did the last time I drank. So how am I not going to drink? I've got to do these things. I have to put it in. I've got to jump into the middle of the bed of this thing of sobriety and do everything I can to stay sober and get sober and stay sober. And that first year, again, faith, faith, faith. It was like all about like, keep doing this, keep walking the walk, and I would have bad things that would happen. And they'd say, keep the faith, Elizabeth, just keep the faith, keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. And I'd want to go and pull my head, the covers over my head and stay in bed and be like, it's over. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. I don't want to do this. I can't. It's too hard. It's too hard. It's too hard. And then somebody pointed out to me, well, hard is maybe walking up a mountain, carrying a pail of water for your children and it being really, really heavy, and it's a steep hill and you've got to climb and you've got no shoes on or something. And that's hard. And I'd be like, yeah, that would be really hard. I think what the people have dealt with the hurricanes that have happened recently has been hard. I think that would be really hard to have all of your belongings gone, your road washed out, not having anybody there to help you. That would be really hard. But I had an option. And I, by the grace of God, lived in a town where there were meetings all the time. And so I was willing to do whatever it took for me to get on the right path. I was willing to take suggestions. I was willing to say, okay, yes, I'll do this. I'll take blind faith. I'm going to say yes. And every core inside my body wanted to say, no, aren't you scared? Who are these people? I mean, there's so much. I don't know if it's because here I am 18 years later and we are living in such a dark society that there is reasons to be fearful. I'm not going to lie. There's so many reasons to be fearful because there's so many things that 2 + 2 does not equal 4. But trusting, like going back to that faith is where it is. It's not in the fear. It's not in, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in the future. Everything's going to be like this. And whenever I hear people tell me that all the time, this is what's going to happen. This is what I think is going to happen. This person's going to say this. This person, this institution's going to do this. This thing's going to do this. Negative, 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 negative. And I listen to it. Then I say to the person, do you have a crystal ball? Because if you do, can you tell me the Powerball numbers? Because I'd love to hear them. And then the person laughs and says, no, I do not. I don't know what's going to happen. So if we don't know what's going to happen, we might assume something's going to happen. But for one, why do we want to feed into the negativity instead of the positivity? Do we want to stay in that place of fear, which to me, fear is so dark and bleak and ugly and yucky and mucky and dirty. Just, that's what it is. It's like a scary Scream costume. It's just dark. Fear is dark. And it's all around us, and society wants to show it to us all the time. But my job inside of myself is to say, I don't want to be in the dark. I want to be in the light. I want to be in joy. I want to be in happiness. I know I'm not going to be here forever. I'm not even scared of dying, which is the craziest thing to say. But I have to tell you, I'm not fearful of that. I know that I've lost enough friends and loved ones that I have to believe that there's this thing called heaven, a place called heaven, that when you die, that's where I'm going to go. And I know you are too, if you're willing to go and take that little bit of faith and run with it instead of staying in the fear. Nothing stays the same, you guys. Nothing. I thought I was going to die a drunk dancing on bars, but here I am. I haven't picked up a drink in a really long time. And I've had to navigate a lot of crazy things, good and bad. And some things make me want to go, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? And I might lose sleep for a while, a couple nights, a couple weeks, a couple months, a couple years, even when I'm sober. But if I get to faith, and for me, I go to church. It's like, it's my place to go is church. And when I go to church and I see things I don't like at one certain church, I'll go to another church. And again, I live now in South Florida. So many churches to choose from, but I go to the Catholic church right down the street, St. Vincent's, and I leave there feeling love and feeling hope and feeling life isn't so bad. I'm not alone. When I was drinking, it was like pure hell because it was like this merry-go-round, right? It was like back and forth. And a merry-go-round of like, okay, I'm gonna have one. Let's see what happens. And maybe I'll have two. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, I don't want to get drunk. Oh, I'm gonna get drunk. That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get drunk. It's what happens. It was the first drink for me always. And to think that that was my answer because I didn't want to feel. It was prison though, because literally I would say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to drink. And then I drink. And then when I was drinking, I was like, forget it. I'm drinking. Forget it. Let's just go. And I'll have another one. I'll have another one. I'll have another one. And when I wasn't drinking, I was constantly thinking about not wanting to drink. But then somebody would say, do you want to go out? And I'd say, okay, sure, I'll go out. And then I go out and then I pick up a drink. And then the whole cycle happens again and again and again and again and again and again. And it wasn't until I finally said, okay, change or die. That's what they say, change or die. There's so many people that come and try and get sober and don't get it. And so many that do come and get it. And so many that really want it, but can't find a way out. They just can't get off that merry-go-round. And I feel for you. I feel for you. We're not living in easy times. I have a lot of, women reach out to me that are having a hard time finding somebody to be with, like a partner. And I think that somebody said the most brilliant thing to me once. And it was one of my sponsors. I'm not going to say her name, but she knows who she is. And I was like, I want to meet somebody. 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 I want to be with somebody. I want to be somebody. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. And I said, why am I so alone? Why am I so alone? Why haven't I met anybody? And she said to me, Elizabeth, let me tell you this. God is not only working on you, but he is working on your potential partner. Who your partner is going to be in this life, God is working with him too. And I have faith in that. I believed her. What she said, I believed. I said, okay, I believe you. So I'm going to keep working on me. I'm going to keep working on me. I'm going to keep doing this stuff. And I was so sick of working on me. I can tell you that. I was like, I am the most boring subject in the entire universe. I don't want to dredge up my past. I don't want to go over why I'm feeling this, why I'm feeling that. I just want to let it all go. I don't want to do this anymore. There were so many times I didn't want to do this anymore. And it's crazy, this thing, life. I think back of how many times I didn't want to do it. And I just kept doing it because I had faith that if I kept doing it, there would be a turn. Things would change. I wasn't going to be feeling so yucky. And, even this election has been getting me feeling yucky, right? It's getting me feeling yucky. I'm doing things that I'm not going to tell you what I've done, but you can not the nicest things, but to people that are voting for that woman. But I don't want to hear it. So I just drowned it out. And I say, you know what, get out of my way. I don't want to hear it. I kind of think I use it kind of like I would with somebody who was like a big drinker or a druggie. I'd be like, don't come near me. Don't come near me. And if you want help, come near me. But if you don't want any help, keep doing what you're doing. I just don't want to catch it. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want to catch the demonic stuff. I don't want to catch the darkness stuff, you guys. One of the questions I asked Father Dan Rehill, which I would love to hear, if you want to write into me, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But when did family not matter anymore? When did playing a sport matter more than going to church and dinner time with family? When? Why hasn't anybody done anything to change that? Why hasn't society come together and say, you know what, Sundays are out, guys. Sundays are out. We are not doing sports on Sundays. Sorry, we need one day of the week that we are not going to run around. We are going to have a family day. We are going to go to church, synagogue, mosque, wherever you want to go, but we're going to go do that as a family, and we're going to spend the day together. Because right now, mom and dad have to work because the world is so expensive. And we are running from here, there, and everywhere. Busy, 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 busy. And when are we going to say enough? Kind of just like the drinking thing. We say enough. enough. I'm done. I'm going to go get help. I'm going to learn how to live this life without booze in my hand. Because it is, for me, it was, I had to relearn life. We think, at least for me, I thought that life was all about just doing what I've been doing. Do what you want, Elizabeth. Go out, do what you want. Have fun, have some cocktails, kiss a boy or two, do it all. And that isn't it. Get more joy and more peace when I do the hard stuff. And I stick with it. And I keep doing it. And I keep doing it. And I keep doing it, even though it's hard. I keep doing it. It's not always easy. I don't think life is always supposed to be easy. It wasn't easy, telling kids you can't do this, you can't do that, you're grounded. And when they were grounded, it was like harder on me. But I had faith that if I grounded that child, that they were going to learn their lesson. And it might not have been the first time, and it might not have been the second time, but by maybe the 10th time, they were going to know this is right and this is wrong. And that was my job as a parent. And as an adult, I had to make the decision, like, I have to have faith that if I quit drinking, everything's going to get better. And it might not be today, but I'm going to make decisions now that are not going to be about with a fuzzy head, or a brain that's just geared towards this way, or I'm feeling terrible about myself, so I can't make good decisions because I'm hungover, or I'm drunk. You can't make any decisions when you're drunk. I mean, forget about it. Every bad decision, and it's kind of interesting that most people in prison are due to drugs and alcohol, and that they made a decision in that moment that was not a good decision. It was a bad decision. But, alcohol is a spirit, and it's a dark spirit, and it changes you. And that's why it was called the spirit store. It still is in some states. And you put the spirit in your body and you change, and it doesn't feel good. So what is your faith going to take you to? What is it going to do? Are you going to have faith that well, I could look at liquor and I can say, my faith is this. I pick up that drink, something bad's going to happen. So I can't do that anymore. What am I going to do differently? By the way, speak to a doctor before you ever quit drinking, because you could have a seizure and die from that. But when we seem we think life is so hard. And as I mentioned, hard, I think of manual labor and all that sort of thing, and losing everything of yours will be hard. But I think that we're worth it. You're worth it to take the time to realize, for one, what's the most important thing to you? Is it getting blackout, or is it not? And if it isn't, what are you going to do instead? What are you going to replace that drinking with? How are you going to learn how to live in a world that's been all about drinking, and I'm not drinking anymore? So for me, that's where those 12 steps and the 12-step rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous came in, because they gave me tools to use in this world that I had no idea what it was like to live in without being messed up. So I learned the tools. I continue to learn the tools because I forget things. But I know this, that if I don't have faith in what it does and how it helps me, then I just throw in the towel today, right? I throw in the towel. I'm going to just segue here. So the faith is so important. And I know that Tuesday, I'm not going to be on again until, you're not going to get me live again until the day after the election. Ooh, that's scary to think. Oh my gosh. Because I'm recording this on Tuesday. So election day, I'll be recording, and you won't hear me till the day after. If you're out there and you're listening to me and you're like, I don't know what to do. For one, I think killing babies at any time, day or night, not a good idea. I think the Harris administration, Biden-Harris, whoever was running the show, let's be honest, I don't think either of them had wars started again. Ukraine started. We have a war in Iraq. Israel. Iran's bombing. It's just, people are dying everywhere. Babies are dying. It doesn't matter about that. It doesn't matter. At the Harris campaign, somebody said Jesus, and they said, oh, you're at the wrong campaign. You're at the wrong rally because you talk about God. The vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz, on the Harris campaign, Tim Walz's wife, said that we need to have tampons in boys' bathrooms so that boys can learn how to read. That was on Katie Couric. Okay, she was on Katie Couric and said that. I want light. You might not like Donald Trump, and you might think he's mean, and you might think he's crass. I get it. He's not coming to your house for dinner. I'm telling you that. And when 4 years ago, I had more money in the bank. I didn't go to the grocery store every time going, my God. And to hear Don Jr., who's very wealthy, say, I went to McDonald's and it was $57 or something for him and his two kids to eat. And he is like, that's like, he's taking notice to this and he's got a lot of money. And the rest of us down here are like, wait a minute, you go to the grocery store and you want to buy, it's $100 every time you walk out with nothing. If that's not reason enough, I don't get it. I don't get it because I understand, again, he may be mean, but I find it so ironic that the people that are standing behind Donald Trump today, Elon Musk, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, just to name a few, are total Democrats that have now come over to this side. I love God. I love Christianity. I love light. I love choices. I think everybody should be free to do whatever they want to do. I mean, I don't think obviously killing babies is a good idea, but if you live in a state where they voted it in, what can I say? But it's up to the states. It's not up to the federal government. I think Donald Trump's really right on that one. And our deficit, he's going to help with. Elon Musk is going to take over that, and he's brilliant. Look at, he just took that humongous rocket and brought it back down, and not to emulate Trump, that he just said that at Madison Square Garden. We need love, guys. We need love, and we need to feel things and feel love towards our neighbors anymore. And it's enough darkness. It's enough. It's enough. Let's get together. Let's come together as a people under a government that doesn't want to tell you that the school's got control over your kids. You don't get control over your kids anymore. It's up to the school gets to do it. You can't, if your child wants to go and become transgender in the state of California, they can take your kids away. If you aren't for it, think about those things. Think about it before you go and cast your ballot next Tuesday. You know, I'm all about Make America Great because I just can't live like this anymore, you guys. It's too dark. It's too dark. And my faith is that the good guy's going to win and that God is going to prevail. And I pray there is no cheating. I pray there is no cheating. But we live in a world where cheating is happening right in front of our faces. We live in a media that if you watch the regular national news, which I haven't in, I don't know when was the last time I watched nightly news, and I can't tell you when, but I know that the people that do are being filled a bunch of, you know what, poop. And it's hard for older people, I think, because they don't know to go to YouTube and watch somebody like a Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly or Ben Shapiro and hear what they have to say. So it's going to be a crazy couple days, you guys. But all we can do is have faith that the right person's going to win. Let's just pray it happens. Okay, you guys, again, listen on Monday for Dan Rehill. That's coming out. My newsletter is coming out on Friday. If you want to go, for it to go right into your inbox, go to busylivingsober.com. You'll be prompted right away, and you can sign up for my newsletter, which will come into your inbox on Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And there's also a link in the description if you want to just go down there to sign up for my newsletter. Also, last but not least, my Patreon. I am going to be hosting the Bible study through my Patreon. I think you can get a free membership there. You can go and look and see, I make no money doing this podcast. So if you enjoy it every week, I'd love it if you contributed. It's very minimal. I'd love it if you would do that. And you would go to patreon.com/busy living sober. You can also find it in my link. It is on the side that you will see in the description. It has all the links on how to reach me on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon is the first one actually. So go and click that and it will take you to my Patreon, and please join. And know that this Bible study is going to be amazing. We are going to use Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a Year. We are going to use that as our format, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. And I want you guys all to know that you are not alone, and we got this together. We need to be together. This is our community. So we're going to come together as a community on my Patreon page is what I want to tell you guys. So on there, I do things, and go and check it out. And if you want to do the Bible study, let me know. And I will include you in all of our mailings and stuff that we're going to have coming out just shortly here, with all the information, what you need to buy, where it's going to be, what time, the Zoom access, all that stuff is going to be on my Patreon. So again, please go and subscribe there. That's enough of me. Hopefully you're going to have a fabulous wacky Wednesday. And until next time, everybody, keep getting busy.